Thank you and good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Chamelon, with a French accent there. I am the manager actually of the LNG fuels business here in Woodside from Perth, newly established business. And I'm fortunate enough to talk to you today about our domestic LNG trucking business and our renewable plans here in WA. Did it work? Obviously, note our corporate statement of disclosure. Woodside, as we all know, is a proud Australian LNG and gas producer, and we've been supplying natural gas to the domestic market for over 30 years. But today, I'm going to talk about the new way Woodside is seeking to develop gas to remote mines and communities for them to secure a clean, reliable and affordable energy source. In this picture, it captures the essence of the potential we have available. In the foreground, you can see the end of the mining chain in the Pilbara, with iron ore being loaded onto bulk carriers heading for North Asia. Behind it, you can see the two major LNG projects that Woodside operates, both the Pluto and the North West Shelf projects. They collectively produce over 21 million tonnes of LNG annually. With the construction of a truck loading facility at the Pluto plant, there is now a real opportunity to further connect these two industries together for power generation where pipeline gas has been previously uneconomic. There are few places in the world that world-scale mining and world-scale LNG production are right next door to each other, and couple that with the abundance of solar power. From 2019, Woodside will begin delivering trucked domestic LNG from Pluto, providing a safe, reliable and environmentally friendly and highly cost-competitive source of new energy to northwestern Australia. This will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions associated with the region's 3 billion litre a year fuel consumption from diesel. This, coupled with advancements in cost and technology associated with renewables, would only further enhance this potential. I'm now going to take the liberty to play a little video of the opportunity.
More than 30 years ago, Woodside provided its first gas to customers in Western Australia. From there, it grew into worldwide sales of LNG. Now, we're pioneering cleaner power for the region where it all started, the Pilbara. The Pilbara produces more than half of the world's iron ore exports and is also home to world-class LNG processing facilities, including the Woodside-operated North West Shelf and Pluto projects. Powering the Pilbara takes a lot of fuel. Each year, 3 billion litres of diesel is imported into the region, primarily for mining, and the ships that carry the mining export product to market consume 5 billion litres of heavy fuel oil each year. Woodside is working to change this by providing end users with the opportunity to transition to LNG fueling from our Pilbara operations. LNG has long been used for power generation. Now, it's increasingly being used to fuel other sectors, such as heavy transport, like the types of trucks, trains and ships used by the mining industry. Environmental and health concerns are driving the world to cleaner fuels. LNG is the only cost-competitive fuel that can meet the power needs of such large vehicles, while also providing the lowest carbon emissions and pollutants of any conventional fuel. Compared to imported fuels, LNG produced and consumed in WA could reduce CO2 emissions by up to 30%, cut nitrous oxides by up to 90%, and virtually eliminate emissions of sulfur dioxide and particulate matter. For these reasons, major equipment manufacturers have been investing in technology to use LNG, and it's now possible to buy LNG-fueled trucks, trains and ships. To enable the Pilbara to transition from diesel to LNG, Woodside is working with its Pluto LNG joint venture participants to build an LNG truck loadout facility. The facility will load LNG onto specialist tanker trucks for distribution. Scheduled to be completed in 2018, it will provide trucked LNG drawn directly from the existing world-scale LNG production and storage facilities at Pluto. The trucks will enter the Pluto site on a dedicated entry road, fill with LNG, and then deliver into the Pilbara and beyond. LNG will be transported in highly engineered, double-walled stainless steel tankers. One road train will deliver LNG equivalent to more than 80,000 litres of diesel. Stage 2 of Woodside's LNG Fuels Hub is in the planning and feasibility phase and will include infrastructure to provide LNG fuel to large ocean-going ships such as iron ore carriers. Woodside is collaborating to help make this transition possible by working closely with mining companies and equipment manufacturers. As the world increasingly turns to cleaner fuels, LNG is likely to become a fuel of choice. And nowhere else in the world does such an opportunity for LNG fueling exist. With large, reliable, export-scale LNG supplies coexisting with the Pilbara's energy-intensive operations, Woodside is committed to helping make this transition happen and supporting industry with a cleaner, local fuel to power the Pilbara.
That's on YouTube if you want to watch it again. Anybody? All right. So the Pluto LNG nameplate capacity is around 4.9 million tonnes. That's an equivalent of around 7 billion litres of diesel capacity that it can displace if required. The truck loading facility will draw particularly from the Pluto liquefaction plant directly, as well as from the large storage tanks that exist on the plant, ensuring, which is the key point, unparalleled security of supply and peace of mind. It's designed for 24-hour operations with initial load-out capacity of around 100,000 tonnes per annum, but that's easily expandable, and we're already looking at that. This initial capacity is enough to displace around 150 million litres of diesel or power 100 megawatts of baseload power generation. Oops. Look, there's nothing particularly novel about using LNG for power generation. You're probably aware that EDL do that now for Horizon for a number of the remote communities up north in Broome and the like. But with the Pluto truck loading facility, we'll open up another option for domestic LNG power generation for miners and communities in the Pilbara and beyond. The cost and reliability benefits of drawing from our world-scale plant will make this a more compelling case than ever before. Woodside is also seeking other potential users for power. Mining equipment's high horsepower and 24-hour operations is where LNG most makes sense. Whilst battery power will make sense for small private vehicles, it doesn't make sense for the large vehicles. Current battery technology cannot be readily transferred to them. For example, the half-tonne of batteries in a Tesla Model S car would only power a haul-pack truck for under 2 minutes. A battery big enough to last a whole mining shift would nearly weigh up to 200 tonnes. Heavy transport will still need the energy density of liquid fuels like LNG or diesel for decades to come, and equipment manufacturers are adapting their offerings accordingly. In particular, Caterpillar have reached full commercial availability of an LNG option for the 785 mine truck, and it can be retrofitted at the moment to an existing unit. It's as simple as going to your Cat dealer and buying one. Gas trains is even more advanced. Both manufacturers of the locomotives used in the Pilbara, GE and EMD, have developed an LNG option which have been operating in the US now for over 5 years. In Florida East Coast Railroad have 24 LNG-fueled locomotives in full revenue service. These are the same type of GE locomotives used widely in the Pilbara. We are already working with mining companies and equipment manufacturers on the potential use of this technology in the Pilbara. The Siem Thema is Australia's first LNG fuel ship and one of the first in the Southern Hemisphere. Taking goods out to Woodside's platforms, it has completed 40 successful LNG fuelling operations, displacing an equivalent of 1.5 million litres of diesel already. Operational benefits have been realised, with fuel cost savings and materially reduced operating costs. Environmental benefits have also been captured, with 25% reduction in emissions of carbon dioxide, over 90% of sulphur dioxide and particulate matter reduction, and reduced nitrogen dioxide. Most importantly though, there are health benefits, with our offshore personnel relaying direct accounts of reduced noise and platform and particular emissions when the Siem Thema is stationed at the platforms. These are the same benefits that remote communities and mining workforces are seeking and will experience when organisations adopt to LNG and renewables. LNG is a key part in the new energy paradigm for remote power generation. we believe LNG and natural gas has always been touted as the natural complement to renewables. So coupled with that, battery technologies, grid technologies, we are today able to offer a suite of solutions and address both cost and emission issues to deliver customers a viable, levelised cost of electricity at competitive pricing. At today's oil prices, we can deliver domestic LNG to remote mine sites at a 20 to 30% discount to diesel to most locations within about 1,200 to 1,500 kilometres to the Pluto plant. And we're working with a number of you in the room already to demonstrate just that. As each miner community has different needs, pricing discussions need to reflect specifics around the transportation logistics, storage requirements, and the mine life timeframes. We are working on adapting the on-site storage and regasification to better cater for short-term mine lives as well as long-term baseload requirements. There's been a lot of conjecture, I guess, around life cycle emissions, and so Woodside went off and commissioned a report for the life cycle emission analysis, which was completed by a company called Energetics and independently peer-reviewed. It compared the life cycle emissions for power generation, specifically using Pluto, LNG, versus diesel out to some remote mine sites, and we varied whether it be a 200 or 900 kilometre distance to travel. Bottom line is that by the time the LNG passes the burner tip, LNG provides a life cycle reduction of 27% in greenhouse gas emissions compared to diesel, near elimination of sulphur and particulate emissions, and a significant reduction in nitrous oxides. As we have found with the CM it is a very clean fuel and provides a material emissions reduction. While solar alone can provide emission reductions coupled with diesel, there's still 75% plus of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with diesel alone. However, when solar is compared with LNG, you can nearly eliminate the pollutants, the impact the workforce, and provide the largest greenhouse reductions that is currently feasible. Renewables are not the only way to reduce emissions. We've heard that a number of times already in the last day or so. Woodside has also achieved emission reductions and operating cost reductions through the application of innovative storage technologies on the Goodwood offshore platform, which can also be readily applied to power generation at remote mine sites and has been shown by other organisations at this conference. My colleague will talk further later on today. So, in closing, I took the liberty of actually grabbing some themes from yesterday. I had originally just had the 2 or 3 dot points to summarise, but I thought it was more prominent to refer to what the themes I had coming out of yesterday and how that relates to domestic LNG. The first one, security of supply. Clearly the number one issue from yesterday. I like to think that domestic LNG from the Pluto plant is hugely reliable. The Pluto LNG plant has an extensive storage capacity, and I would say ensures unsurpassed levels of energy security to the industry out there. Cost. Delivered energy is not only price competitive to diesel, we can deliver it at the cheaper price, but it's the ongoing operating and cost savings which I think will also be quite astronomical to the industry as a whole. Sustainability. Gas is undoubtedly a natural complement to renewables, only further enhancing the emission reductions and sustainability of remote power generation, and it provides even greater health benefits to the remote communities. Price volatility was mentioned. I thought that was an interesting theme, but I guess a lot of people who rely on diesel rely on the market. Well, I guess what we're trying to offer is price flexibility arrangements. We can have different indexes, and we can move, the domestic LNG can provide protection against exposure to oil price and FX movements as well. This is also a little one that I didn't expect to come out of yesterday. So I thought a one-stop shop, there were a number of people who just wanted to deal with the one customer. So although we can contract directly with LNG fuel to the customer, we can also deal directly with your IPP and provide a more seamless commercial structure and accountability. Last but not least, technology and mobility design around gas facilities ensures that the economics can be justified for shorter terms. Where economic pipelines probably require 15, 20-year type deals, we believe we can get mobile storage equipment that can make it economic for line lives as low as 5 to 7 years. Now, I think that would be pretty attractive. And of course, encompassing all that with the right partner, Woodside is the right partner for you. We believe we can bring all that together and pull it all together and bring material cost savings, reliability and energy security to the industry. Thank you for your time.